Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel, and in today's video I want to talk about a couple of the problems in the meta, primarily relating to the Storm school. Obviously this does not just affect Storm, it affects a lot of the higher damage per pip schools and stuff like that. So in my video today, I'm going to break it down into two chunks. One is going to be dual schooling, and the other is going to be the shield and resist interaction. Now, I just want to say real quick, shout out to Jetty or Kermit for helping me out, get the gameplay, and do all the math in the video today. Credit to him. I'll have it all up on screen once, stuff happens. But essentially, this is just really unbalanced, and the devs have known about it for quite some time now, and they haven't really done anything about it. And it shouldn't have to get to the point where I have to get with, another creator and just work on this. The devs should just be able to see it and fix it and move on. But unfortunately, this is what we have to do now because they just won't fix their game. So, yes, we are going to talk about the shield resist interaction first, because that is a pretty easy one to, I guess debunk, if you will. Basically, Storm is the only school in the game that gets screwed by this. And the reason for that is they don't get enough stats, pierce or resist, to actually hit through a shield and tank other people's hits through a shield. So in today's video, we have two examples. I tried to make this as accurate as possible, so I took stuff like Storm Owl and Mythgen, which are as close to, power and DPP and whatnot as possible. And we also took the 7 pip Salnopolis cards, both max tier by the way, tier 3, whatever, at this date. Same amount of buffs as you'll see in the gameplay. And again, I'll put the math on screen once stuff actually happens and all. And yeah, it's pretty crazy, Obviously, you look at the Myth matchup, where obviously Myth has way better stats than Storm through a shield, and you'll really see that it's a huge problem, I believe it's about like a 22% difference, which is quite insane. It's quite insane, because you'd think, right, the devs are like, oh, Storm damage per pip, the power of Storm, but you're not really seeing that here, right? And the whole point of this isn't even about, oh, Storm isn't supposed to be good into shields and all. It's about the game being balanced, right? If I'm dead in an even amount of hits to open trades 1-to-1, the exact same logic should be applied through like weaknesses, shields and all, because that's how you balance a game. That's not something unreasonable I'm asking for here. I just want things to be equal and balanced, right? And the reason this is such a big problem is because people have known about it in the community for quite some time. Mostly like last year's like the high rank community, but it's more common knowledge now. Even like veterans and knights abuse it now. So basically, if you see a shield, you just hit through it. If you see their Storm, it's pretty brain dead, and it will always benefit the resist school doing that, and the Storm can't do it back to them, which is why it's unfair, right? So it's pretty wild. Now let's look at the Fire and Storm matchup. So the Fire and the Storm matchup is basically a good example showing what is wrong with the game. Okay, so 1-to-1, right? Fire and Storm trading hits. The Storm wins that every single time, right? I'm not talking about like the meta. I'm talking about numerically. If you trade hits, the Storm diffs the Fire in the stat department, okay? But the second you interact with the shield resist interaction or whatever, you actually see that Storm gets absolutely diffed and obliterated here, right? So instead of it being like an even trade or whatever, the Fire, again, wins the trade through the shield, even though you're supposed to be hitting harder on a Storm. Makes no sense. Now, I will say, at least in the Fire and the Storm example, it is a little more even. I think it's like a 7% difference or something like that. I believe, compared to like the 22% difference we saw with Myth and like other resist schools, which is absolutely insane, by the way. But this one isn't as bad. But again, I'm really trying to highlight here when it's 1-to-1 trades, Storm obliterates Fire like it's not even close. But that gap, that canyon, when you put shields into the game, Fire diff Storm. Again, I'm not making the argument here of, oh, Fire's good against Storm, or, you know, Storm is supposed to be bad into shields. That's not the point here. You can have that as a game design philosophy, but again, it should be the same amount of hits to kill the opponent, because that's what you make a fair and balanced game. But it's not right now, and that's my whole point right here. Okay, guys? It's not, I want to hit through a shield and do 10 million damage, right? It's if we both hit the same amount of times through the same shield, we should both die relatively at the same time, right? It shouldn't be that one school just gets to be better than the other, because then it creates a very unbalanced state, which is what, you know, it is right now, essentially. So that's my first point. That's a fact. That's how it is. Devs have to fix that. There's nothing as players. We've tried everything. It's just a broken interaction, which is why people see a Storm, hit through shields, and if they're on a resist school, they know that Storm can't hit through the shield, right? So, unfair. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is dual school. Now, everyone knows Storm, literally, like, Storm dual school is a joke, right? I mean, it doesn't take a mathematician to figure that out, right? But this also affects stuff like, you know, what if a Myth wants to go into ice, right? Myth needs, you know, a lot of damage to hit optimally with an ice, right? But you don't really see that complained about in the community, because that's not the meta for Myth, right? You don't have to do that. You just win by dueling Fire or Storm, right? So not just a Storm problem here with a dual school. Storm's just a very easy one to point out and make fun of, because it stands out like a sore thumb. Essentially, Storm dual school is extremely, extremely, extremely pathetic. And a lot of people who are high rank abuse this, including myself. If I'm on a death or an ice, I can essentially just bait the Storm to use their Fire stuff, because the more they do that, even though they're playing better countering it, right, it actually doesn't work out, because the game isn't balanced, right? So they might be making all these good moves, but I know because my stats are better, right, they're making these great moves, but it's not going to matter, because they haven't fixed the stats on that school. In this example, I believe you're going to see us trade Elephants. So basically, I'll be showing the stats here and everything for both of us. Meta stats, by the way, not just, you know, crazy stats. But it's insane. I believe the amount of hits a Storm needs to kill a Myth with the same dual school, the Storm, it needs a 9, I'm pretty sure. And I believe the Myth needed 6 hits. Now, again, I'm not really sure why Myth gets to be more powerful than Storm. Don't really get it. I think the bare minimum here that anyone in the community would ask for is for Storm just to hit their max off-school damage cap and Pierce cap, just like every other school can, pretty much, right? Again, there's some exceptions, like, you know, a Myth wanting to go on the ice. They couldn't get all their ice damage, right? Not quite, at least. So there is a couple of other exceptions. You just don't see them because it's not meta. The schools are fine. But it's a pretty big deal for Storm, right? And even if Storm was able to hit the 207 and 59 cap, like other schools can with their off-school caps, you would still be losing about, I think, like 20% of your actual like DPP compared to a Storm hit, right? So, I mean, I would be okay with that, you know, personally. At least you could be competitive and you would actually feel the weight of, you know, getting countered, because as right now, you just don't really have to care. You just keep being brain dead and winning, or you just abuse the fact that the game isn't balanced if you're a good player right now, with the shield interaction and the dual school interaction. So, I mean, yeah, again, I didn't really want to make this video because I feel like I shouldn't really have to, you know? But the devs just don't want to do anything about it, and I'm not really sure why. I'm not really sure what to think. And to the doofuses in the comments who are gonna be like, oh, we'll just run more damage, lol. Like, you can't on a storm. You can't. The best you can get while giving up stats, by the way. So if you run this build, you lose to like 3 other schools, by the way. And that build, the max damage you get, I think is like 186 and your pierce cap. But that's not even gonna matter. You're not even at your caps, and then you're losing to 3 schools that you shouldn't be if you run that build. So if you use that, you just lose more. It doesn't nothing gets fixed with that, right? So they do need to do something, and I didn't even talk about the fact of the matter that Storm can't even get max dual school accuracy. I didn't even talk about that, by the way, right? I'm pretty sure every other school in the meta right now is able to have competitive stats, get max accuracy, or relatively max accuracy, and obviously they're off-school caps. But Storm can't get their off-school caps, and they can't get accuracy, and it's just, and then they can't shield, but you have to shield because it's the best of mitigation, and it's just all terrible, you know? And again, I don't want this to be like a whole buff Storm video. That's not my point of the video here, y'all. It's just the fact of the matter, it literally is exclusive Storm problems, and the devs, or a dev, I guess, just refuses to listen to it. The facts of the matter. So again, shouldn't have to make this video, but you know, I thought I'd put some proof out here, and it is just really show, like, mathematically and, you know, in game how broken it is. And yeah, I mean, again, this is somebody who's gone Warlord on the school multiple times, you know. If you main Storm, you know that exclusively your school has so many problems that don't need to be there, and you have to play around it, and you have to acknowledge it when other schools don't. Other schools actually can abuse that if they know about it, like I do, right, with the, you know, these interactions. So it's pretty messed up, right? And I don't think this is something that we should have to wait a year for, right? Like, we shouldn't have to wait a year as Storm mains to get our hands on the Selenopolis update. I should be able to be creative and do what I want. And, you know, if I want to do Ice Storm, maybe that could be decent. I could hit viably, but you can't be creative at all right now. You just can't on this school. It's so bad. You need more off school accuracy. You need to be able to hit at the bare minimum. The bare minimum. You need to hit your damage cap and your pierce cap for off school, like every other school can in the game right now in the meta. Bare minimum. Bare minimum. Okay, and that's everything I got for the video. Really nothing more to say, you know. It's facts, it's proof, it is what it is. Anyone with high rank will agree with this. If you're a recruit and you think Storm is OP, I mean, sorry to tell you, but I think you need to understand the meta more and get better at the game and rank up, and you'll probably see that you should probably listen to more high rank people. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one, and take care, guys.